Good evening, all. Nice to meet you all over a video. I did my interview with a social worker, Kristen LaFawn at DCFS. That is a social worker associated with preventing child abuse. One of my many interests lies within preventing child abuse. The description of this agency is a government organization developed to provide better well-being for vulnerable children who come from unfortunate circumstances. It's the DCFS fiduciary duty to provide safety to a child from all and any forms of abuse, neglect, and dangerous situations. Their mission is to keep children safe from abuse and neglect and provide domestic violence services by working with families and communities and strengthening families. The clientele is ubiquitous. It is obviously children and children under 17 and under, and their families and anyone else involved, anyone else that could be perpetrator. And a lot of their processes are really extensive, but the majority of their processes are in-depth, but not extensive, in-depth, but usually typically last 30 days before they make a judgment on if they're going to remove the child or what kind of intervention methods they will be using for their certain cases. The social worker responsibilities were to investigate, make phone calls, attend court when needed. A lot were in the field and a lot were out the field, but when Kristen worked out in the field, she would be visiting children at schools or surprise visits at home, and then sometimes late at night she would have to interview their parents or other people associated with the children, and that would turn into a lengthy process. So certain nights her typical day of work was 9 to 5, but during interviews and other field work, she would be home around 9 or 10 at night because families typically don't get out of work until about 5 o'clock. How she became employed was she actually grew up in the foster system at an early age and lived, in foster homes throughout her entire life until she was of the legal age of 18. And she had the drive to want to help vulnerable children. She knows it's a volatile experience, and she can relate on a different level with children. Just because foster homes are offered doesn't mean that they're all nonviolent. So her experiences were some of personal, and that's as far as I'll go with that. But the salary, starting salary, if you have your bachelor's degree, is $17.25. That's just the starting. If you have experience with vulnerable children, prior experience, then your starting salary can go up. And from there, it all just depends. Master degrees technically get much more, but I didn't go too much in depth on that. The opportunities for advancement are kind of like assistant managers. They are called case leaders, where they manage certain areas in DCFS and certain social workers. And you can be a case leader or you can be a manager, but that's typically the top to that opportunity. Her overall job satisfaction, she absolutely loves her job. She loves serving justice for children, providing safe environments for them, and removing them from harmful ones. If there are any cons to working with just social work and in the field of with DCFS, is that there's a high amount of cases and not enough social workers. And she said one thing that she would do to improve this, if she could immediately, would be to require DCFS to go on an immediate hiring spree. and this would actually allow social workers to be involved more individually with cases and adequately, make decisions rather than just rush through because there's so many. My reaction to all of it was I'm really grateful for this interview. I'm glad that I was exposed to in depth of detail what the proclivities of the day entails, and the things that you have to possess as a social worker. Definitely need to be able to separate yourselves from the case, so you don't get consumed by it. Empathy. You need to. She also said you need to have like some at least related experience, because it's very hard to work with something that you've never experienced. So if you have some form of trauma, which I have had, which I'm not going to discuss, but some child trauma in my life, that and then some observed trauma that I've observed of children around me, that have led me to believe, that I would do well in this field. And the same with her. She believes that someone that would be more effective in this field would be someone that has had a related experience. That's about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and hope you all enjoy the video.